It's sudden, but do you all have someone you can trust other than your family? And do you have troubles and secrets that you can't even tell that person? The topic I'm going to talk about today is largely related to that, and it's about an incident that is thought to be related, even though there are many physical evidences still accidents happen. The criminal who is still living in the same space as us. About the investigation of the case by the police. Was it a slip? It's a bit quick, but let's go into the details. The case of the female junior high school student in Hachinohe City, Aomori Prefecture, occurred on Wednesday, October 27, 1993. At the time, she was a second-year student at Hachinohe Second Junior High School in Hachinohe City, Aomori Prefecture. The crime occurred at the home of 14-year-old Wakana Miyako, who was observed by someone at her home, located in a densely populated residential area off a narrow street. The crime was likely committed within 20 minutes, and the perpetrator left evidence at the scene. Cigarette butts, a coffee can, and eyewitness reports of suspicious individuals and vehicles were found at the scene. It was thought that the perpetrator would be arrested immediately. Despite the deployment of a total of 120,000 investigators and conducting interviews with 600 key informants, no leads were obtained in the end. On October 27, 2008, she fell into an unsolved case. Why was she targeted? Behind that, she hid from her friends. It is believed that a certain affair is deeply involved. What was that affair? First, it is the family composition of the Miyako family. Miyako-san belonged to a family of 5, including her parents, 2 brothers, and Wakana-san. The father often left home for work in the countryside, which was a common occurrence. On that day as well, he was not at home, and the eldest son was out of the prefecture for work. At that time, the only ones living at home were the mother and the high school-aged second son. Wakana was present during the incident, but the mother and her second son were absent from home at the time. Let's look at the timeline for that day. At 7:25 in the morning, she leaves home for school. At 7:30, her mother leaves the house. She goes to work by car. At 2:25 in the afternoon, her daughter's school ends and it's time for cleaning. From 3:30 to 5:30, she runs along the river for club activities, as witnessed by the club advisor. She was sprinting with the track and field club from 5:40 to 5:45. Including 2 friends, they leave school as a group of 3. She said she had to go home early today, and it seems like she didn't stop by the grocery store where she usually stops by. At 17:53, before the gates of Honhachi closed, she parted ways with her friends and headed home alone. At 17:58, a passerby confirmed that the lights at Miyako's house were not on. At 18:00, she arrived home. Between 18:05 and 18:25, 16 neighbors heard glass breaking at Miyako's house entrance. One checked but saw no one, despite also hearing a cry for help. At 18:23, her mother returned home to find the front door unlocked. She found Wakana lying down at 6 o'clock. At 18:25, someone nearby was asked for help. The first report was received at 18:27. The 119 report was accepted. After 6:38 p.m., the emergency team arrived and confirmed the death. Wakana-san practiced ballet every Wednesday. Her mother drove her on the day of the incident. The scheduled ballet lesson was from 19:00, and she usually left home at 18:50, but even if she was late, she would be home by 18:30 to make it in 10 minutes. However, on the day of the incident, why did she return home by 18:00 and leave at 18:20? She was not at home until 18:00, and she told her friends that she had to be home for some reason. Her friends confirmed this, but she did not mention her ballet lesson, and it seems that she had a reason. Between 18:00 and 2020, she was murdered, and her family also understood her whereabouts at that time. Even now in 2022, no judgment has been made. She was found face down with tape over her mouth, her hands tied behind her back, and more tape. Furthermore, her lower body was naked and a zabuton was placed under her, but there was no sign of her being violated after she was killed. The cause of the woman's death was exsanguination, with multiple wounds on the left side of her neck and abdomen caused by a sharp weapon. Among them, there was a stab wound deep enough to reach the heart. There were signs in the room that she had struggled with the perpetrator. The shattered glass door at the entrance had fragments scattered outwards. Traces led from the hallway to the entrance, and her left knee wound appeared to be from trying to flee. It is believed that the wound was caused when she broke the glass door at the entrance, and that she was dragged back from the entrance and killed afterwards. This is thought to be the sound heard by the people nearby. There were no signs of valuables being taken from the room, but the windows in 3 places, the entrance, the living room, and the bathroom were locked. They were not locked. On the kotatsu in the room where she was found, there were 2 cigarette butts believed to have been left by the criminal, and coffee was found. This was inferred from that. It was thought that the criminal could be arrested immediately, but no fingerprints were found. Aomori Prefecture had not introduced DNA profiling at that time. It was introduced in 1995, which is the latest among the 47 prefectures. Therefore, there was a possibility that saliva was left on the cigarette butts left at this time. But unfortunately, no information leading to the arrest of the criminal was obtained. However, as I mentioned earlier, also 16 people in the neighborhood heard the sound of breaking glass, and many testimonies were received about the crime time and the time thought to be the crime time. A middle-aged man who ran away from the scene shortly after the time, and an unusual vehicle were also confirmed. From the parking lot near the house of Mr. Miyagi, who is close to the scene, shortly after the incident at 18:30, a light car that ran away was witnessed. The type of car was a Mitsubishi minicab, and the color was yellow. This car has been parked continuously since August of the same year, and the driver was thin and white. The man wore a thin white shirt with a necktie. After the incident, the car was seen briefly before disappearing. The owner remains unknown. He shared the license plate number. He drove a similar car nearby. There are around 1,900 of those cars. The Aomori Prefectural Police investigated around 680 cases, but despite the physical evidence and eyewitness accounts, they were unable to identify any specific suspects or the criminal responsible. From a person in the former Metropolitan Police Department Investigation Division to the police investigation, it is pointed out that there may have been a slip. Simply put, a slip is a mistake in the investigation. Regarding this case, it is speculated from the abundance of evidence that the criminal would be caught immediately, but was there a slip in that expectation? I digress a bit, but when I heard this story, I remembered something. The third incident, she was holding back the announcement meeting, and on the day of the incident, clothes for the announcement meeting had arrived at Ms. Miyako's house. But let's take a look at that. She has left this world without a word. Whether the criminal in this case is a known person or not is an important point of discussion. Depending on the way of thinking, it is not impossible to think that an unknown person visited, was greeted at the front door, felt danger to their life, resisted, but was killed. However, she told her friend that she had something to do. I am drawn to it no matter what, and I think it was likely that the person was a known face. I think it's highly likely. What would you think if she had something she couldn't tell her friend? When she was found, why was the kitchen knife that should have been in her kitchen next to her? There were no blood stains or fingerprints found, but it was suspected that there was some connection, but in the end, it did not lead to anything. The detective from the prefectural police who was in charge of this case talked about the case when he encountered the accident. The accident was terribly regrettable, and his anger at the criminal will never disappear in his lifetime. This detective was involved after the occurrence of this case. He switched to mild 7 cigarettes by Mizuba. The criminal was caught at the crime scene. He says he has no intention of changing his brand in the future in order not to let the case fade away in his mind. His girlfriend's brother also made a comment when he encountered the accident. The 15 years and months passed in a blink of an eye. This feeling is the same for me, my parents, my younger brother, and all my relatives. At first, when I joined hands in prayer for my sister, I couldn't do it from the bottom of my heart. Over the past 15 years, I am grateful to the police officers who have reduced the bottom of the sea and conducted investigations, but that's all I can do. If so, arrest the criminal. For me, who was relieved my sister was the best person. Everyone in Aomori Prefecture, Hachinohe City, and Shiroshita Yonchome who raised us. I haven't forgotten Miyako Wakana for 15 years. Thank you for always being there. News of events flowing daily. In reality, there are victims, bereaved families, investigators who investigate desperately, and there are criminals. What I want to tell the criminal of this case is that you will definitely not escape. It's not just about cutting it off. The weight of the crime committed will not change, no matter how much time passes or how much people's memories fade. I believe that you will receive retribution someday. This time, I sincerely wish for Wakana-san's happiness. I apologize for the inconvenience and thank you for watching. Thank you very much.